Hello and welcome to the Raw Review here on Wrestling with Regret. And folks, it's kind of a bittersweet day here at Regret HQ because this is the last video I'm making before I shave this monstrosity off my face. It's been a good run, I grew the beard for several months and then I shaved it into this after my fundraiser back in October. And a week has come and gone and I'm getting rid of it. I'll be actually live streaming the removal of the mustache tomorrow morning on Instagram, so stay tuned for that. Keep your eyes peeled for when that happens. But yeah, it's been a heck of a run, but clean shaven Brian Zane is coming back very soon. There will be some sporadic videos coming out in the next few weeks that will still show me with the mustache, so don't be too alarmed. But yeah, this is pretty much the end of that, and we'll try again next year and see what happens. Our opening segment helps set up more of the main event later on in the evening. You got Miz TV here. Miz and Morrison are in the ring, and the Miz plugs all his reality TV goings on for the next couple of weeks. Then Randy Orton shows up, and he is very upset about this whole team with Miz and Morrison. He thinks that it's a trap for Miz to eventually attack him and cash in Money in the Bank and win the championship. Miz and Morrison deny it. Orton also says that Morrison was wrestling in the minor leagues for a few years before coming back here. Out come the New Day to add some levity to this scene here. They basically go in the ring because they want to laugh at the heels, essentially. But then Orton hits Kofi with an RKO. Drew McIntyre shows up to try and clean house, but the heel beatdown commences. All the baddies stand tall after Orton hits an RKO on Drew as well. So again, this sets up, more context for what's going on in the main event later tonight, the six-man tag. Your first match is a second chance triple threat match to see who will get the final spot in the men's Survivor Series team match. He's got Elias, Jeff Hardy, and parentheses Matt Riddle. This, as far as I can tell, is the first match he's had on TV since losing his first name. You know what I've said before plenty of times on this channel, how we eventually just kind of get used to wrestlers who start getting names dropped, like, Elias, for example, or Cesaro, Big E, Rusev, Andrade, etc., but Matt Riddle losing Matt, I'm like, that seems so, above all else, seems like the least necessary, and I don't know how just going by Riddle is going to really help, but I was proven wrong with Andrade, so anything can happen. That being said, I thought it was a pretty good triple threat match. I enjoyed the pacing and the flow of this, the transitions from, the different combinations of guys, how one guy enters the ring, another guy gets left out, and then the two guys wrestle for a while. That went on for a bit. In the end, Riddle hits the Bro Derek on Elias to win the match and take that final spot in the Survivor Series team. We see AJ Styles chatting with Adam Pearce backstage, then AJ's interviewed about what just happened in the ring, and AJ says he's happy that Riddle has joined the team. Sheamus and Braun Strowman walk in to voice their frustrations with the team dynamic, but AJ decides he wants to call a team meeting, so we'll see that later in the night. Elsewhere backstage, we see Mustapha Ali, that is the new pronunciation of his name, with the rest of Retribution. He says that Ricochet was brave but foolish to turn down the Hurt Business and their offer to join the team several weeks ago. Mia Yim / Reckoning also has some big words to say. The promo wraps up with Ali saying that they are the Forgotten and that Retribution will shut everyone down. Speaking of Forgotten, when they said that, all I could think of was, man, the Forgotten Sons. Haven't heard about them and thought about them in a while, and I don't miss them. Elsewhere, still backstage, we see Drew Gulak, the 24/7 champion, approach the Hurt Business and ask to join the group. Drew is very well dressed, but they soon discover he's wearing a clip-on tie. Drew Gulak explains it's for tactical purposes because he has to escape often, but that's not good enough for this well-dressed group of guys who beat the hell out of Gulak in the middle of the backstage area. They leave. R-Truth sneaks in, pins him to win the 24/7 title back for the 40-something time this year. Sunrise, sunset. We get a Veterans Day video package. Then it's time for Lana taking on Shayna Baszler in singles action here as Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke are joining the commentary team for the match. It's a pretty quick squash match here. Shayna wins decisively with a submission as they're getting ready to slam Lana to the table once again. Mandy and Dana stop it and they kind of break things up. So that seems to be the end of the streak this week. Or is it? Then backstage after the break, Mandy and Dana tell Lana that if she wants to help, she better stay out of everyone's way. And then we see, after two replays in about 5 minutes of the same miscommunication stuff last week with the team members of the men's Survivor Series team from last week, it's time for the team meeting. The self-proclaimed Captain AJ Styles, who, by the way, no one's in agreement that he should be the captain, brings everyone else into the ring. He wants to try and make peace after last week's rocky start, but the members immediately have more tension. Riddle tries to, dispel the tension, saying everyone needs some sick code names. Then he names Skipper, Mongoose, Broly. He names Sheamus Fireface, which, like, for some reason Keith Lee finds absolutely hilarious. He's like snickering loudly into the mic. I'm like, it's not that funny. And then, but the one funny thing was, Sheamus goes, "What's your code name, Dopey?" And Riddle goes, "How'd you guess?" I thought that was a pretty good comeback. AJ with a good job putting over the SmackDown team in this segment and establishing they are very much a threat, but there's still no unity. No one wants him as team captain. So AJ decided, as kind of a team building exercise, he talked with Adam Pearce and made this tag team match as Braun and Sheamus take on Riddle and Keith Lee, with AJ as the special guest referee. I don't understand this aspect of Styles as captain, where he wants everyone to get along, but keeps putting the rest of his teammates in positions where they want to hurt each other. Some funny stuff in this match here, where Riddle accidentally kicks Styles not once but twice, then AJ is flattened by Strowman and Lee, then that man steps into the ring, the big bodyguard. He gets ready to fight, and then we go to commercial break, which is the worst time to cut to commercial break. Like, there's no reason to do that. You would stay on there and wait to see what happens before we cut to break. That's why, from a TV standpoint, makes no sense. More teammate breakdowns between Strowman and Sheamus. Strowman eats a bro kick off the apron, which allows Riddle to roll Sheamus up and pin him, so Riddle is 2-0 on the night. I thought the match itself was fine, although I thought that the stuff with the interaction with Styles getting beat up, I thought that felt like a finish to me, but it was just the setup for the commercial break, and then we had an actual finish after that. But I think the match was fine. The pre-match promo we saw with the team meeting, I was entertained by it. I'm starting to enjoy, gradually more so, enjoying the build for this team, how they can't coexist. I'm curious to see how SmackDown kind of fares in terms of their unity, because they're no more of a cohesive unit just based on who's on the team right now. So how will the booking of SmackDown's team compare to the booking of Raw's team? We'll hopefully find out this week. In your Soul Fiend adjacent content for the week, you've got Nikki Cross backstage approaching Alexa Bliss, who by now has gone full into the Firefly Funhouse aesthetic, completely different mannerisms from the Alexa Bliss we knew just a few months ago. And Nikki basically confronts Alexa, saying it's either me or the Fiend, and Alexa chooses the Fiend. So Nikki's heartbroken. Alexa is just going further into madness here. Where will this all shake out for Alexa and the Fiend? Time will tell. MVP and Bobby Lashley make their way to the ring next. MVP talking about how next week Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander will beat the New Day to become the new Raw Tag Team Champions. He puts over Lashley some more when Titus O'Neil makes his way to the ring, and Titus basically calls out Lashley to his face, saying, "What good is being champion if you're never defending the belt?" Lashley accepts Titus's challenge, so we have an impromptu US title match between the two of them, and it's an open and shut match. Pretty quick here. You got Lashley putting the hurt lock on Titus to win and retain. Final draft pick of 2020, Titus O'Neil, everybody. Then backstage, as Drew McIntyre gets ready for his match later, we see Sheamus walk in, showing the visible effects of his match from earlier. He's basically complaining to Drew about his Survivor Series teammates, saying, "I wish you had joined the team back when there was an opening." He's very upset about this, but Drew is able to talk him down, get him smiling again. They bring up the past and how they were teammates and everything, and how, maybe when Drew wins the championship again, they'll celebrate with a whole bunch of pints. And, I'm just liking these very wholesome interactions with Drew and Sheamus. I don't know where it's going. Probably Sheamus turning heel, if I had to guess. But I think that, it's kind of cool to see them actually have kind of like a nice, friendly chit-chat. It's very refreshing. Asuka takes on Nia Jax in non-title action here, and despite Shayna Baszler's claims to the contrary, Nia Jax before the match saying that she is the leader of the women's team at Survivor Series, and the rest of the team is also standing at ringside to watch. The match doesn't go very long. Baszler and Lana are fighting on the apron, and Asuka knocks them into Mandy and Dana. Shayna kicks Asuka while she's got Nia in the Asuka lock, and so the match is turned into a DQ. And you guessed it, Lana suffers the sins of Miro once again, slammed through the announce table for the 8th time in 9 weeks, just in case you're keeping score. And, Lana has been booked with, I think, more consistency these last 2 months than Retribution, if I'm being honest. So 2-0 matches in the women's division tonight on the show. And, if I call out AEW for mishandling their women's division, I can do the same thing for WWE. Semi-main event next, as Mustapha Ali takes on Ricochet. Both guys talking a lot of trash with each other during this match here, where, Ali tries to convert Ricochet and saying, "You're foolish to go it alone," and Ricochet basically saying, Retribution's not the way, as the rest of the team kind of, grunt their way through the match on the outside. It's a great match. Big head scissors by Rico off the apron, and Ali with a big splat on the outside. A giant avalanche backstabber by Ali was pretty sick. My word. Ricochet with a big flipping dive onto the rest of Retribution, and then he goes for one to Ali, but he misses it. Ali with a pretty cool submission to make Ricochet tap out, and he wins. Look at that, a rare victory for Retribution. But in all seriousness though, great match and probably the best one of the night. In the gorilla position, Randy Orton's informed by Adam Pearce that he'll be defending the championship against Drew McIntyre next week on Raw. Randy does not take the news very well as we go to our main event as Orton, Miz, and Morrison take on Drew McIntyre and the New Day in a six-man tag. Orton's not a very good team player in this thing. He wants no part of being actually involved in the match, does not ever really tag out. Near the end, Drew lays out Morrison and begs Orton to tag into this matchup here. Instead, Orton just leaves the ring, and Drew cleans up, hits Morrison with the Claymore kick to win for his team, yells at Randy some more as we fade to black. I know I'm heavily condensing this match here. I thought it was an okay main event. The big story, the big takeaway with this obviously is Orton's petulance over this supposed slight against him being booked in the title match next week. I seriously doubt that we're going to see a championship change hands next week. It's probably going to be a DQ finish or some bullshit like that. We'll circle back to this in a week and see how my prediction went. But I think the story they're telling, again, with Orton and Drew's persistent, search and pursuit for the championship again is definitely on display here on this night. My grade for this week's Raw is a B. I thought it was a pretty good episode. I think that most of the show went along swimmingly, except for, the stuff with the women's matches. I don't think there was too much dumb stuff on this show. I enjoyed the men's team build. The stuff with Orton continues to be pretty intriguing in my opinion, especially with the title match next week. In some cases, Survivor Series is getting interesting, but in other cases, it is not. But that is the way of the company these days, I guess. But what did you think of Raw this week? Let me know in the comments section below. Still some time for Raw to save face as we get closer to Survivor Series. We'll have to wait and see what happens next week. But until then, I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.